everybody. Hi. I'm super excited to be here. I'm super excited to see everybody. I'll just give you a really quick synopsis of who I am. My name is Faye. I have a lot of nicknames. Faye or Faye. My full name is Feyisola. It's Nigerian. So I have a few nicknames. I'm super excited to have you guys here with me today. Today we're going to be talking about niche marketing, which is marketing to a specific niche. And I'm super passionate about that topic because it's what's helped me. Like I kind of went through a period where I kind of started considering just throwing in the towel and just giving up on my business and really choosing to define a niche and figure out how to speak to that niche is what helped me. Please feel free to come on in. Just there are a couple free seats, so yes, please come on in. It's informal, so don't feel weird. Hi. All right, so let's go through what we're going to talk through today. So the outline, I want to tell you a little bit more about my story, because like I said, I had a few rough patches. I'm sure you guys' story is all been perfect, but I had a few rough patches that I wanted to talk through. I wanted to talk about types of marketing. I didn't want to jump straight into niche marketing, but I want to talk about types of marketing and the way I categorize marketing in my head. There's some misconceptions about niche marketing. A lot of times when I talk to people about marketing to a niche, I get certain feedback, so I kind of wanted to divulge some of those misconceptions. Then, of course, talk about best practices. That's the main thing we're all here for, about marketing to a niche. I would love to answer some questions, and I also have a giveaway, okay? Now, about me. Few people know, well, actually a lot of people know now. I studied computer engineering at the University of Pennsylvania, so I'm very much so a nerd. Very much so like logical. I think in spreadsheets, like I'm that person. So I think it's probably a little weird that I'm in the wedding industry. Some people are like, how are you in such a creative industry when you think like that? I don't really have an answer, but I got here. And there are certain skills that I learned from that do help me. And I am certified event planner. I went to NYU shortly after getting my degree and was going at night while working in IT consulting the other day and got my certification from there. I'm also a PMP, so I'm a certified project manager as well. So as you can tell, I'm a little bit obsessed with logistics, which is how I ended up here. I do love speaking at events, conferences, and I love teaching whatever, virtual conferences, whatever it is. I've spoken at a few. I've also spoken on television, on I think it was DCTV and also Fox 5. I'm mildly obsessed with the color pink, as you probably could tell. It's important to know that. I love nature, which includes like going to the beach, going camping, and doing all kinds of things that generally happen on Saturdays. Technically I'm supposed to be working on a wedding, but whenever I'm not working on a wedding, I'm like, hey guys, sorry, not available, and I'm like, we'll just go offline and go hiking or go to the beach. And I really, suggest that you do the same. I think a lot of people feel like bad when they don't have a wedding, and I think you should choose to live your life during those times. And outside of work, I volunteer a whole lot, especially in my church. And so that's something else that I work really hard to make space and time for in my life. So the biggest rough patch that happened was just when I chose to move to DC. I used to live in New York, started my business in New York shortly after going to NYU. And for me, it was sort of easy. Like I kind of had a niche. I was pretty plugged in with the African community there. So I was like, okay, I'll just start with, Nigerian weddings and then branch off into something else later. And that was working for me. And then I decided I don't want to work here anymore. For personal reasons, I wanted to move to DC. I just felt drawn to it. I honestly felt like the spirit was leading me here. I wanted to be in DC. Came here, and of course I had lots of events in New York. I don't know if anyone here has ever tried to move your business, but it takes a while for word to get around. So a lot of times you're still going to be traveling to the old spot, but I was getting tired of it. It's a long drive, and not just for the weddings, for meetings. Like, oh, can we do another venue walkthrough? And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so far. So I really, again, I wanted to live here. I wanted my life to be here. So I had to figure out how to make my voice heard. So when I started meeting people, and I would say, oh, my name is Faye. I've always known about the pitch. Or the 30-second elevator pitch. I've always known that was important. Every job I've ever gotten in engineering came from that. Going to huge conferences with thousands of people, me having an elevator pitch made me stand out and helped me get internships and all kinds of things. So I would say, oh, my name's Faye, I just moved here, specialize in Nigerian and African weddings. And people would be like, oh my gosh, I know like 6 other people that do it. Let me introduce you to them. And I was like, oh, this isn't going to be as easy as I thought. Because pretty much everyone I know knows someone else that they trust, and I'm technically the new kid on the block. So how am I going to make my voice heard?
And it was really just, I either have to make it work or I quit. Like, those are the only two options when you're faced with that kind of situation. Because I didn't really want to go back to New Jersey. I like to live where I want to live. I've always been like that. I don't usually let a job or anything tell me where to live. If I want to live somewhere, I'll do it. And then it was just like, so what do I have to do to either make this work, or do I just quit and just focus on IT consulting? And that was where I was. So, really quick, before I jump into what all the things I did, I just wanted you to know I am offering a giveaway today. There's two parts to the giveaway. Number one, I'll give you the slides if you email me. That part is free. And secondly, I'll be selecting one person to have a free one-on-one coaching call with me. I do love doing one-on-one coaching calls, so I will be picking someone to give a coaching call. So please send me an email. It's info@statuesevents.com, and just make the subject, send me the slides, so I know you were here today. And then I'll send it to you. It's that easy. And then I will select someone to offer a one-on-one coaching session with today. All right? So, did everyone get the email? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Was it called Faye?
Yeah, you call it Faye. I have a bunch of things. But Faye is okay. All right. So, before I get too much, well, I'll explain a little bit about, I'll have to explain what I did to get out of that hurdle a little later, but I kind of want to lay a good foundation. In my head, there are two different kinds of search. Or marketing really, two different ways that people find out about brands. One is really passive and one is active. And both are important. So, can anyone give me an example of what they think is a passive way that people find out about a new business or a brand?
Coming across them on Instagram.
Instagram, okay. Working out. Yeah, that's kind of passive. That's probably somewhere in between. Yeah, because that means someone actively told. Yeah, that's a good one. I didn't have that in any of the categories.
What did she say?
Someone referring a referral.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, does anyone have any examples for what active is? Like active, like marketing to someone who's actively looking for what you're doing.
Google search.
Yeah. So search engine optimization. Yeah. That's the part we control, optimizing our sites, right? Okay. So you guys are 100% right. So places that people actively search for what you have to offer are Google, Bing, and Yahoo. Of course, most of these Google, but I had that, shout out the other two, just so they are on the screen. And the part that you control is search engine optimization, not just throwing up a site, but making sure your site is optimized to be searched for what you do, okay? And for the niche of people who are looking for exactly what you do. Pinterest is one that a lot of people ignore, and I think especially if you sell a product, it's like amazing because you're not location specific. And people will keep repinning your stuff and eventually find out about your brand and what you sell. I think a lot of people find out, especially about home goods on Pinterest, from home inspiration boards and things like that. YouTube's another one. Most search results have at least 3 video links at the top. So if you have content that relates to what someone is searching for, that is another way to be found, right, towards the top. And by the way, does anyone else here just ignore the sponsored links at the top when you're searching for stuff on Google? I do that all the time. Anybody else? I literally just, it's like they're not even there. So, okay, so then so to get to the not sponsored part, the part that people trust, you have to optimize, right? And find a way to stand out. Social media hashtags. When I first really started understanding the true power of Instagram was when I had a client, she had just moved here from out of town, and I was like, oh my gosh, these awesome photographers, they fall within your budget, let's go there. She was like, well, I just don't want to spend that. She came from Atlanta, and she was like, oh, things are cheaper in Atlanta. I was like, but these people are good. And she was like, well, I'm just gonna send you links of people I like. Every single link was an Instagram link. It wasn't a website. And I was like, if this is how she's finding you, and I also knew that was how her husband found me. So I was like, maybe people, I thought he just found out from like maybe someone sending him my link or whatever. And I was like, how did you find these people? She said, oh yeah, just, hashtag, DC photographer, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, this is a thing. So there are some people, especially like hyper millennials who don't use Google, who use hashtags to find people that they like, right? Bridal shows. People generally are going there either look for ideas or sometimes look for vendors, right? So they're actively looking for something. Wedding magazines and Google Places. I'm not sure if anybody has a Google Places page, but Google Places comes up as well sometimes in search listings. One thing to keep in mind about active search is that these are people who are looking for something, which in my mind means they're generally going to make a decision relatively quickly. Because they're like, oh, I'm engaged, I'm ready to start planning, or I'm ready to get, do my engagement shoot. Or, I have a client who, her wedding was in Connecticut, we did her wedding in Connecticut, but she did a shoot in New Orleans. And she's like, well, I'm going to New Orleans for somebody's wedding, let me just find a photographer to shoot me. She needed somebody to respond within like a day or two, so she could book it and schedule the time for the wedding. And those pictures like went crazy viral. You wouldn't even know that shoot wasn't even really like planned well in advance, but she was ready to make a decision. Some of the clients who have booked me the quickest have come because they were searching for something, and then the search result came up, they liked what they saw, and then they called, and it's very like responding to emails quickly, like all of that, like, okay, I just have one more question, okay, sounds great, can you send me an invoice? And then like I wake up the next morning and invoice is paid. Generally, these are those people, because they're looking for something. Okay. Sorry, does somebody have a question? Now, passive shoppers are also important, and I think this is what most people focus on, right? Which is social media, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, television ads. You were just watching CNN or whatever you were watching, Housewives or whoever, and an ad comes up. And there's a saying that once you see a brand 7 times, you remember it. So when TV ads are reeling and you start to see things multiple times, that's also a passive way to market. It costs money, but I'm just adding it to the category. Web ads, especially now, the newest one that I think is the most engaging is ads in Instagram stories. I don't know if anybody's come across those. I think those are very, very engaging because people love stories. Yeah. So I think that's another one, any kind of web ad, but I think these are extremely engaging. Billboard and banner ads, again, you're just in Times Square, mind your business, but then you see this billboard that catches your eye, right? It's passive. Like I was just trying to go to Sephora and I happened to see something and I was like, oh, that sounds cool, I'll look it up later. That's a very passive way of marketing what you do, and of course distributing flyers. One thing about passive shoppers is that they don't always act immediately. I have so many clients who are like, oh my gosh, I've been following you for years, like, and I didn't even have a boyfriend. And I was just following you, and then when it was time, I hired you. Same thing, I do a lot of coaching. A lot of people that I coach tell me like, oh my gosh, I've been following you on Instagram. I have a personal, my personal page on Instagram. I've been following you, and I like some of the stuff you say, and I'm usually just like, really? Because sometimes I post random stuff, just me and my brother or whatever, but I do always try to add, tips, inspiration as well. And sometimes people are like, yeah, you get it. And so then when I post like, oh my gosh, like I have 2 more slots for coaching, sometimes people act immediately, but it's because they've been following for forever. And they've liked the content that they've seen over time, right? So just tidbits on the 2 different kinds of marketing. And marketing to a niche is important in both cases. But wait, let's chat about something first. Okay, who are you selling to? So I would really, really like if you guys would indulge me for 3 people to tell me who they are targeting, like who they sell to.
DC brides. No, recently engaged DC couples.
You're a photographer?
No, I'm a planner.
Oh, you're a planner, okay.
Yeah, so recently engaged DC couples. Like you said, their luxury is not specific, so I guess within a certain price point. It's hard to say what you would call them.
You're close. You're close.
Millennials, I guess.
Okay, you're close. So what do you do that specifically helps millennials?
I use a lot of technology in my planning process, so I use Aisle Planner. Constantly being able to be reached over the phone. I text with a lot of couples, which they love.
And that's I was about to say, I hate text. I'm starting to warm up to it, but I think even like putting something like that on your website, like when you hire me I would never do it because I don't like it, but you like it, so honestly, I think it's important to be specific about your niche, right? So I don't like that. I like people who like emails, but like if you like text or if you're open to it, then putting that on your website literally is a selling point. That as part of your value, like I love to text. I would love to text with you all night about all your wedding ideas. People are like, oh my gosh, that's what I want. They'll never tell you that. When you say, oh, what are you looking for in a planner? They'll never tell you that, but because you put it out there, that's something that speaks to a need that they have, right? So somebody else might have, go ahead.
Yeah, so previously I was marketing to, I would say millennial men. And I'm a grooming concierge, so
Okay.
my business is to take care of specifically and uniquely the needs of the groom and the groomsmen. And before I was marketing to the groomsmen, but they're the end user, but not necessarily who I need to be marketing to. So
Yeah.
now I'm pivoting to market to the wedding planners and how I'm marketing myself. I'm marketing to wedding planners in the DC DMV area and also the New York, New Jersey metro area, who are, I guess, have like vibrant, more fashion forward, more engaging experiences that would benefit potentially from having me act as a white label extension of what they're offering. So yeah, and it's usually mostly either, I would say, younger planners, so probably under 45, and women of color.
Okay. So I'll take both of you. So, yeah, go ahead.
With the millennials, I'm noticing that they like customized weddings, they like themes, so.
But is that what you're passionate about doing? Okay. Because with niche market, like, you just have to understand there's still all kinds of people.
Right.
So, okay, sorry, go ahead.
Well, I agree on that, but I've just noticed that they like the themes and they like it to be customized and unique to what they like or what they're in, so just marketing, putting something out there for that will also bring them in.
Okay, and you are a planner?
Yes.
Okay. Awesome.
I'm a planner and designer. I market to young, successful professionals who don't have the time. They have an idea what they want, but they need someone to pull it all together and bring their vision to life.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay, great. I'm so happy that no one said luxury. Because I've had a pet peeve with that word for a while, for two reasons. Number one, some clients will see the word luxury and never inquire because they assume that they can't afford it. Like they're assuming that luxury means that your photography package is $2K and like they will not even reach out to you just because of that, right? The second is, what is luxury? I mean, there's like this whole, when it comes to our actual industry, luxury is separate from high end, and then there's like, oh, you have to spend at least, I think, like 120K to technically be luxury, and then like under that is high end. I just think that the word is tossed around a lot, and don't forget that couples, the people you're actually marketing to, like other wedding pros know what you're trying to say, but the people you're actually marketing to are not.
I've actually told you to remove that word.
I'm not gonna say it as a hard rule, but I don't like that rule. I think that, and I think also I have a weird person, like there's certain things I don't like. Like I don't think you have to like use long strings of really long words to appear smart. Like so for me, I'm like, if you can use simple words, but speak directly to a need, people will resonate with it. So like just because you toss in luxury and all these words, that doesn't mean that the person gets it. But there are things that you can do to speak to a specific need, identifying the needs of the people that you want, like they don't have time, right? Because there are other people who are just like, I just need someone that I can talk to all day or all night about wedding planning because my fiance does not want to do it. And my girlfriends, like, they're already tired of me and we haven't even started planning. So like, they just need someone to talk to all day and all night. I'm not that planner. But, like there's some people who need that. And so when you say, oh, I obsess over details and I love talking with you all day and night, that resonates with a certain person. When someone doesn't have time, they want to be able to give you like a few bullet points and know that you can run with it. So that speaks to specifically, right? All right.
What would you prefer to say? I mean, I don't really like it either, but what would you say in place of luxury?
There's not one answer. I think that there's no easy answer. It's not something that you can just like copy paste another answer into. You have to really get to the root of what you do. And I would say that for me, that's changed multiple times. Like when I first, came to DC and I was like, okay, I really need to get more Nigerian clients, right? Well, some, because all of the ones I was getting were in New York, and to somebody. So I was like, okay, you know what? I started using Instagram. And I would say, I feel like I started using Instagram a little bit before most planners were like all over it. So it wasn't, my messages weren't necessarily getting too lost. And I would say, hey, do you have like a sort of tight budget, but you want to have a fabulous wedding? Give me a call and I will give you a presentation and show you what I can do with your budget. That's attractive to someone who's like, oh, I've talked to a couple planners and they're saying I have to have a minimum of 50K to work with them or whatever, but you're telling me if I have a budget, you'll work with it. I did a lot of crazy stuff. I stayed up all night ironing linens, I bought online on sale. I did all kinds of stuff to make it work. And I put a time limit on it for how long I was gonna do that. But I did stuff to make the weddings look more luxurious that the person had money for. And that way I could have proof that would draw other people in, and then I could build from, right? But what the thing I was speaking to was specifically Nigerian weddings. Like there were a lot of things I did, like speaking to the fact that, oh, you're trying to have a 2-day wedding. We do 2-day weddings. Like me saying it as opposed to you asking me about it is reflects of that. As opposed to me just saying a zillion times, I'm a Nigerian wedding planner, I spoke to things that Nigerians need. Yeah, so instead of just saying what you do a zillion times, speak to the things that the person needs. And we're gonna go a little bit more into that. Go ahead.
I was just saying, a lot of conversations that I'm a planner, and that once I get the clients on the phone, that I say to them a lot is that, like, we're your advocate, we're your partner in this, and that's something that they're looking for. They want someone that's a go-between between them and their parents, or them and, them and their in-laws, or something like that. And I'm just realizing as we're discussing that, I'm saying that to them after they're already on the phone, but that's something that I need to put out there, because that's gonna speak to them, before they even get in touch with us.
And marketing is two sides, right? Like there's the sales process, which is very important, as well as what you put out there. And then there's certain things that you may not want to put all the way out there, because sometimes people copy it. I get my feelings a little bit when people copy me, but it's okay. But so you just want to be, you decide what you want to put out there, how often you want to put it out there, and things like that. Because something like that is really important, but at the same time, then you could end up getting like all the clients who have like really difficult parents, and then because if that's like the thing you're putting out all the time, it's going to attract that. People who are just like, oh my gosh, like none of our parents talk to each other, and then you like that becomes your job. So I think that just always having a balance, right? Is important. I got this off Google. So the definition of a niche is, as an adjective, denoting or relating to products, services, or interests that appeal to a small, specialized section of the population. That's what it means to have a niche. A small, specialized section of the population. That's part of the reason I have an issue with the word luxury. It's not specialized. It's just how much money you spend on your wedding. So I guess, could everybody think of one thing that they specialize in, like a skill set that you have or something that you would call a specialty? Or a type of client that you... Okay.
Their coordination.
Their coordination, that is very much so a specialty. Yeah. Very much so a specialty.
Menswear styling.
Menswear styling. Okay.
LGBT weddings.
That's a specialty. It's a specialty. So, what are they worried about? People in that.
Mine would be costs, because I'm a vital accessory rental.
So they're worried about cost, and you address that in your marketing. Okay. What are grooms worried about?
Nothing. Like the grooms are not worried. It's the brides that are worried. You do get grooms who they might care about what they look like, but I mitigate that easily from just speaking to my experience in menswear styling. So once that's the worry is like, okay, fine.
Okay.
In my case, I do Afghan and Persian weddings, but they tend to marry people who are non-Persian, non-Afghan, so they want to make sure they incorporate the culture without it being too overpowering and not like offending the family members, because especially with Afghan and Persian, it's pretty loud and very vocal about having a cultural, like, incorporated in the wedding, so we usually have to streamline that and make sure that.
I feel like we have like the same business. No, honestly we do, but mine is West African weddings, and we're getting a lot more Ethiopian weddings, but it's like the exact same thing. So absolutely, but not just that. We're moving more into a lot of intercultural, just in general, not necessarily like with Africans, but just a lot of that. And I didn't even realize I was in niche. I fell into it. But I'm getting ahead of myself. I have that in the slide. What are they worried about? What is their style? I'll skip that. What information do they need, the people in your niches that you guys yelled out? What information do they think they need at the time of booking? Because I think there's two things. There's the information they actually need, but what are they like searching for online, like for answers for? Like what kind of information are the people that are in your niche trying to get?
Centralized location. So, I do custom, one thing I offer custom garments, and they're like, oh, I have a movement in Indiana, and I have a movement in Atlanta, and I live in New York, and everyone has hectic scheduling, so we wanna do the custom experience, so we wanna have an experience where we're all together, but, you know, I don't know if that's something that you can do.
Yes.
Immediately kind of discounted
That's
because
what you
they created the obstacle, and they didn't even give me the opportunity to offer a solution to overcome it.
I think that's an opportunity for really good storytelling. So every time that you have that kind of scenario where you're helping groups that are in different cities, then saying, oh, I don't know what you do, but so obviously wordsmith, but oh yeah, we went to Texas and we brought everybody together in Texas because that was technically shorter, you know, shorter flight for those on the West Coast and East Coast, blah, blah, I connected them with my guy, blah, blah, blah. I had already sketched out what they were gonna wear before we got there, we got them fitted, blah, blah, blah. It was easy for the group. Storytelling that tells like, and something like that even in a post with them online, like just like swagged out or whatever, that is something that like it already tells the whole story for you, right? So every time you have that scenario, every single time telling the story, yeah, of what you did to make it easier for that coordination piece. Because I think it's one thing to say, oh yeah, we'll coordinate it for you. That most of it can't really understand what that means, but after it's done, and you say, oh yeah, we did this, it was easy, what? We did pull people together, then they're like, okay, he's gonna have to do it for me, because this WhatsApp group's already annoying me with these groups then, right? So it's like, so it's easy to then toss it over the fence to you, because you've already told the story that you could do it. All right, so here's a sample target market statement. We are a wedding planning and design company that specializes in weddings for the modern multicultural couple. This is our latest, our latest statement. It changes over time. I feel like people need to get comfortable with the fact that if your business is gonna grow, there's some aspects of it that are gonna change, right? There's some things you're gonna realize you don't wanna do anymore, or things that you're gonna realize that you kind of fell into, like especially, you know, there's just a lot. Even when I do work on weddings that are for 2 Nigerian couples, they generally want some Western elements in there. Like, it's not just, oh, I just want, make sure there's jollof rice. They're not those people, you know? So it's for the modern multicultural couple. The modern multicultural couple tends to marry someone outside of their tribe or their country. Like, there's all kinds of things. So that's a very simple statement, but then when people see that and then they look at the portfolio of work that we have, it connects, right? So your target market statement should not be like a whole paragraph. And it may not address everything in detail, but it should tie everything together, and it takes time to build. So we do a lot of intercultural weddings, multicultural weddings, and we also have a lot of clients who come to us and say that they want vendors who are of color. Many. I didn't even know that was going to be a thing, but you know, because we ask a lot of questions, like what's important to you. When you fill out your contact form, it's just open, like tell us what's important to you, and people say it. Or sometimes when I'm like on the phone, I'm like, is there anything else I didn't address? And they're like, yeah, well, I mean, I don't know if this is a thing or if it's possible, but you know, I really want to support minorities. And I'm like, oh, so why is it like we do it all the time? Like, that's what you're worried about? And they're like, yeah, you know, it's just important to me. And I'm like, yeah, we know a lot of people, like, and then we keep it in the back of our minds when we send recommended vendors, right? So it's something, that's something that people care about. But all 3 of these 2 things, when I first started my business, I didn't know were a thing. It's stuff that I observed as I had clients come in. And I noticed that, wow, there is actually a very different need when you're 2 cultures blending together. Yeah.
And then just as an aside to that, then do you, like when you were starting out your business, then do you seek out vendors and like reach out to them like for what your couples are looking for or mentioning to you, or you already knew them, or how do you?
For the most part, I already knew them. I'm always open to working with new people. I don't do that whole, you have to pay me extra for me to use vendors that aren't on my list. I'm always open to meeting new people. But yes, I do seek new people out as well. Like for instance, we had an Ethiopian Pakistani wedding last year, and I'm not familiar with Pakistani food. So, and a couple lived in New York, they didn't even live here.
Yeah.
So it was just like I then, you know, went into my own. I think a lot of this has a lot to do with recognizing patterns. Like over time I've recognized that most catering businesses that are licensed to work in a venue have a restaurant. So maybe I start looking at restaurants and look at their reviews, taste their food, and then that's where I'll build my reputation list, right? So it's just a matter of patterns. Like patterns are so important when it comes to building systems in your business, right? So that's usually where I start from. I'm not that person who's married to any vendor. I have my preferences, but I'm not married to any vendor, and I always really try to match it to what works for them. And as we continue to grow and pivot in our specializations and everything, I also have to pivot. You know, we started doing weddings all along the East Coast. Like I can't be like, oh yeah, you need to fly this florist out. You know, she's great. She is great, but I'm actually first gonna look locally and into my own networks and try to find people. You know, not necessarily off Google, but I have my ways of finding people within different vendor networks that I'm in. Cool. So, some common misconceptions about niche marketing. Number one, I don't want to pigeonhole myself. I want diverse clientele. So then I'm not going to market to a niche. That's probably like the number one thing I hear, and I'm like, I started directly marketing to Nigerians, and I got probably 80% Nigerian clients that year, and then I had 2 or 3 African American, and then I think I had one that was cultural. So just because most of my content was directed towards Nigerians didn't mean I didn't get anyone else. And eventually, but it meant that those people that I got were like, I trust you, like off the bat, because like the things that I said already resonated with them. So it also made the planning process a little easier. Number 2, I already don't have enough clients, so I want everyone to know I'm available and to inquire for me. Unfortunately, when you market to everyone, you technically are marketing to no one. You know, like how many people would say, and I'm not trying to pick on them, what's everybody, sorry, men, ladies in the room, what's your favorite shampoo? Try different ones? So no one has a favorite? Mixtures, okay. Anyone else?
The conditioner, I like it natural.
Okay, natural. Anyone else?
I use Weedad.
Sorry?
Weedad?
We did?
Weedad, yeah, it's a curly.
Is anybody noticing a trend as to what your favorite shampoo is? It's not Suave, and it's not Pantene, which markets to everybody. Now people still buy it, but I'm just saying, like, what's your favorite shampoo? You might buy Pantene if you're on vacation and you forgot to bring your shampoo, blah, blah, blah. But your favorite shampoo is for curly hair people, mixed chicks, LK Naturals. Like, when you are marketing to everyone, you technically are marketing to no one. Pantene could probably not continue to survive unless they're like cheap in their pricing, because they're not like in a place where they're probably anybody's favorite. It gets the job done. They're not anybody's favorite.
Would that be their niche, like people who are looking for
Yeah,
inexpensive shampoo? You know what I mean?
Yeah, inexpensive, yeah.
Right? So I guess, is that their niche?
I would say so, yeah. Okay. And
What if you, I'm sorry, so what if you want to branch out later on? Then you feel like,
that's number 4.
okay.
What was that, number 4? Oh no, that was number 3. I was just getting to it. I don't want to get stuck. What if I want to change my niche later on or take on different clients? Right now, I service primarily intercultural weddings. But the way that I was able to build, because there's multiple things. You have to get the clients. You have to do a fabulous wedding to have a good portfolio, because it's not